Welcome to the Defender podcast.
Hi, everyone.
Second episode today. I'm your co-host, Sarah Edmiston.
Hey, I'm Dolly Ferriola. How you doing?
So we have a great show planned today where we will be talking about current events as well as the history of voting.
Yes, I'm super excited. And just to kind of touch base, you talked about current events. Of course, we can't talk about current events without touching on the notorious RBG, just to kind of bridge the gap between our last podcast and now.
RBG, again, being one of the first. She was laid in repose at the Supreme Court building on Wednesday and Thursday, where thousands of people came to see her and pay her respects. I thought that was really amazing. And then Friday, she was laid in state at the Capitol building. So again, breaking down those barriers, being one of the first women, one of the first people from the Jewish community to be given those honors. So
yeah, it was really beautiful too. I thought I tuned in a little bit here and a little bit there just to kind of see things. And I just thought it was just such a beautiful presentation for honoring someone who was just such a force to be reckoned with in our history of the United States. So I thought that they did her justice in that. I think it was really important for the community to have a moment where they could mourn the loss of her as well. So I think that was really just cool that they were able to do that and give us a chance as a community to be able to view her from afar, laid to rest.
Yes. And all of the current Supreme Court justices and former justices all came out and spoke about her legacy and spoke about what she meant to them. And it really just gave you a feeling for just on both sides of the aisle, just how influential she was. Speaking of the Supreme Court, we got an official announcement yesterday from President Trump that he was nominating Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court to take Ruth Bader Ginsburg's spot. So that was something that there was a lot of speculation about his shortlist and who he would be nominating. And we did officially get the nomination yesterday. So how are you feeling about that?
For me personally, again, my values may not always align with the organizations that we work with, to give that disclaimer, but I personally just feel like this would really set us back. I think what is exciting about it, though, is it's coming at a time where people are getting more fired up about politics and about, education regarding politics and their rights to vote. And so if anything, this is a really great conversation that we are having about, the power of your vote, because whomever's elected in November, that's the person that'll get to change the Supreme Court for decades. So she's also very young. I believe she's 48.
She's 48. So she will be the youngest Supreme Court justice ever if she is appointed to the Supreme Court. And I think that's a big deal too, because that has a lot of implications. That means that she could serve on the Supreme Court at least a quarter of a century. So at least 25 years, if not more. So it's really, regardless of how you feel about it, this will significantly change
everything.
It will change everything. And we will have a conservative majority. We already did. It was 5-4. Now it's going to be 6-3. So that it's going to play a huge role. And I think we're also losing a more progressive Supreme Court justice in RBG, and beyond even the cases that are argued that set these precedents. You also don't have somebody that is known for their dissents. That can help sway the sometimes conservative judges that will go the opposite way from what you expect. So I think it'll be very interesting. There's been a lot of harsh criticism about this decision. We did face a similar situation in 2016.
And that was 8 months before that election. 8 months.
Absolutely.
So I think this happened, 46 days before the election?
46 days, and now we're just starting the proceedings. And there's a whole process that this has to go through. But we're coming up to a month. So there's a little less than 40 days before the election. So there's a lot of things that have to happen before she would actually be appointed. But the Senate does plan to move forward with the proceedings, and they are saying that it will go to a vote on the floor.
Well, with a GOP-led Senate, do you think that this is going to go through? I mean, like with like what, a month?
I think as soon as Mitch McConnell announced that they would vote on the floor for a new Supreme Court justice the same day that Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed, there's no doubt in my mind that they were going to nominate and push somebody through. So I think there's also some talk about if a Democratic president is elected and if we have a Democratic Senate, about possibly adding more Supreme Court justices to the court. So
yeah,
I think it'll be very interesting. But, we just have to see what happens and how things play out.
How do you feel about, I don't know if you know, I saw this headline in the last couple of days about, I think some Democrat who put in a bill for an 18-year term limit for Supreme Court justices, which I personally think is a really good number that gives every single president the opportunity to appoint at least 2 people to the Supreme Court if it cycles the proper way. Yes. So, and then you're not like stacking a Supreme Court with like a ton of extra people. Like we're already at 9 right now. And then I feel like if they are going to just keep trying to put more people on the Supreme Court, you're just putting a Band-Aid on the situation. Like, oh, we don't like the balance right now. Let me just add 3 more people and balance it out. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think term limits is a huge thing on both sides, whether that is the Senate or the Supreme Court justices. I think that's something that people want. And at some point we have to talk about it, because to have these lifelong appointments, and then with, Trump, he got 3 nominations. Yeah. We don't know if the process will go through and she will be appointed. That's yet to be seen. But that's something that's very uncommon too, to have 3 Supreme Court nominations in 1 term. Yeah. That often doesn't even happen in 2 terms. So there's a lot to be seen, and, we'll talk about it more as it develops in the coming weeks, but, we should see that process move fairly quickly, in early October. And
it's crazy. It's insane to me. I get it. Like if I was the GOP, why not? Like you're in a great position right now. You have the control of the Senate. You have a president who is very vocal and like has a really strong fan base. Like this is a great opportunity. Like you said, like when do you get a chance to have 3, like the option for 3 nominations on the Supreme Court during your presidency? And he's not even in his 2nd term. So just imagine if he does get into a 2nd term, the justices who are rumored to be up for retirement, or if something happens to those justices, like Trump could literally just stack the Supreme Court so heavy in his favor, which makes sense with this upcoming election and how contested it's probably going to be. And like the whole thing with mail-in ballots and all of that, like, of course he wants to put this woman on the Supreme Court. Of course.
Yeah. And I think that's the other side of it too, that you had President Obama with Merrick Garland, with Justice Scalia passing. Yeah. And, at that time, Mitch McConnell said the American people need to have a voice. You have Lindsey Graham, that we should not appoint a Supreme Court justice in an election year. Now we're a few months before an election. So again, we'll have to see how everything plays out. But yeah, I think they absolutely will try to push this nomination process and appointment. And depending on what happens in this election, it could very well go to the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Like politics aside, to be like into like to really truly love learning about U.S. government and civics and all of that, this is a really cool time. If anything, just as an outside person looking in and like monitoring the democracy that is the United States right now. So it's pretty fascinating and scary for some people, but fascinating for me.
Yes. I mean, we're for a wild ride, which brings us to our next topic, the peaceful transfer of power.
Peaceful underscore peaceful.
So for several months, Donald Trump has talked about mail-in voting, talked about it not being legitimate. There have been several non-partisan studies that have looked into fraud and mail-in voting, and it doesn't exist. But again and again, he keeps making these statements about mail-in voting. And this week he said in a rally that we're not going to lose this except if they cheat. That's the only way we're going to lose. So that was during a rally earlier in the week during a press conference. Donald Trump, when asked if he would commit to a peaceful transfer of power, he said, we're going to have to see what happens. We want to get rid of the ballots and we'll have a very peaceful, there won't be a transfer, frankly. There will be a continuation. So how do you feel about this? Is this just political rhetoric?
Oh my God, it's painful.
Does he actually mean these things?
I don't even feel like this is a partisan issue. I feel like even if I was a hardcore Republican, that this would scare me beyond belief. I feel like that statement that he said goes against everything Republicans even believe in. You know, what I do admire about the Republican Party is, you know, just how strongly they feel about patriotism, about the Constitution of the United States, about upholding, you know, those values from our founding fathers. I think that's important. You know, our founding fathers came over here for a lot of different reasons: religious persecution, political persecution, the persecution of ideals and alternative values and principles from their king at the time. So like the fact that we are here and we have a president that is saying these things, that are saying these very scary things, it blows my mind that his whole fan base, his entire Republican Party essentially is backing that and that is supporting that and is celebrating that. Like, this is literally what dictators say. This is like, we have it on record of actual dictators in the past saying almost verbatim the same things.
Well, it's never happened before. There has never been a president who has said that we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
And if I lose, it's because the other side cheats. And then to talk about throwing out mail-in ballots during a time when you have an unprecedented amount of mail-in ballots happening because of, we are in the middle of a pandemic. There are lots of people with health issues that cannot safely vote in person. You have a lot of people that they've always done mail-in. And, you know, now for this to be taken into question, I think it's just, to me, it's planting the seeds. It's planting the seeds. And if we do not have election results that are so clearly one side or the other, I think it's going to be an absolute circus. Oh my
God. Well, and so I think that when November hits, the day after the election, we're obviously not going to have a result. I don't think that we'll have one for quite some time. I think we'll very probably have the same type of situation with Al Gore and George Bush. And then even thereafter, like, that's definitely going to go to the Supreme Court, 100%. There's no way that both sides are not going to fight this to the very end. And again, we go back to the importance of the Supreme Court, the same theme that we've been talking about for weeks now, about how, like, your vote truly does matter, because at the end of the day, you're not voting for this human in the office. At the moment, you're voting for the people that they're going to be appointing to the Supreme Court.
Right.
That'll change your whole entire life.
Right. And the Constitution and everything that our country is founded on. But on a positive note, the Senate voted unanimously for a resolution that committed to a peaceful transfer. There's also several GOP senators that came out, and the way we get information out now is we tweet. So Mitch McConnell, Mitt Romney, they did not all directly talk about Trump, but they did say that they are committed to a peaceful transfer.
Yeah. Just like a side note, something that's always really puzzled me about this whole thing. I get why a lot of people like Trump. I get that, I guess, stance. I can understand where they're coming from anyway. Really confuses me is the Republican Party knowing that they're in a position that is not the most stable, and they're still supporting someone that is very unstable, right? Like instead of just nominating a whole new person, they're just really firmly backing Donald Trump in a way that is just scary, right? Because now you're just setting a precedent for future elections and future Republican Party voices and things like that. So just that whole thing really just confuses me
right.
all
And
around.
it's how will this affect history?
Yeah.
So Donald Trump loses and that we have this very contested election, or he wins and he gets another 4 years in office. But what kind of precedent is this setting for history and the type of candidates that we have and the type of things that they say and our role in the entire world and the global community? There's a lot of countries that are looking at us saying, what the fuck are you doing, America? What is going on? Like, this is the fall from Rome. Like, we are severely divided. We have a president unlike any other, whether you hate him or you like him. He's
definitely one of a kind.
It's all unprecedented. So we're going to have to see how things play out. But I do find it very troublesome, some of the things that he's saying.
It's definitely, like you said, it's the precedent there. It's the scary words that he's saying. We don't know. I just feel like Trump just does things now, and we're just like, oh,
right.
Okay.
It's almost like, are you trolling us? Like, is this the massive troll of the century that you don't
beginning, I truly felt that
because you want to get people so fired up and like, oh my God, what did he say? Or like, do you actually believe the things that you say?
Honestly, in the very beginning, when he was in the primaries, like for 2016 election, I truly believed in the very beginning. I'm like, this guy is the OG troll. He is just like, he's a rich guy who's just having a good time. He's been talking about this for years. Like there's no way this guy could win, right? Because it's just too ridiculous. It's too ridiculous. And then he fucking won. I was like, wait, what?
Right.
I can't believe it.
People voted for him. We're like, well, okay, well, what do we do now? I never thought that would happen.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Here we are.
On a positive note, so moving on, mail-in ballots have been sent out in Florida. So if you opted to receive a mail-in ballot, you should be receiving it in this coming week.
And read that ballot, understand the ballot, research things. I know on our page and on the website, we'll be posting a lot about the amendments, who's backing them, what's funding the amendments, what the amendments actually mean. Because a lot of the times when it comes to ballot amendments, people like to get a little sneaky and throw some things in there. So like we're going to be here in the coming weeks, just trying to bring as many of the facts as possible regarding the amendments on the ballot, because we're all
there's some big ones. On the Florida ballot, we have the $15 an hour minimum wage. That's something people have been fighting for a long time. Yeah. So we'll definitely break those things down for you. I think the language that they use in a lot of the amendments can get kind of tricky. So we will be bringing you that information, talking about candidates. But know that once you get your ballot, you can fill it out. You need to follow all instructions. Make sure you sign the envelope.
Make sure you sign it.
Make sure you add your date. Keep in mind that they are using your photo ID signature. That's how they are mashing it to your mail-in ballot.
That's good. That's actually a very good point, because I do not sign like I sign on my driver's license.
Follow all of those instructions. Make sure you sign. Make sure you date. And as soon as you have that ballot, you can fill it out and you can drop it in the mail. So it is in Florida, it is our first set of early voting. You do not have to drop your mail-in ballot in the mail. You can also drop it off at your local county supervisor of elections office.
And then look it up afterwards and confirm that it was received and accounted for.
You can make sure that you can see when it was received. You can see when it was counted. They start going through the ballots before election, but the actual results are not posted until November 3rd. So keep that in mind, but you can make sure that your ballot was received. And they have to tell you if your ballot was rejected for any reason. So don't worry. I know there's a lot of fear about mail-in ballots, but do your due diligence. Make sure if you are sending it in mail, you do it early. Do not wait.
Honestly, I think that the mail-in ballots are much safer than going to the polling place. Just like from what you said, there is a tracker on it. If you do it early, you can stay on top of it. You can truly make sure it was counted. You can follow up if there's an error of some kind and like really just confirm that your vote was counted versus going to a polling place, which I still highly recommend. But if you're worried about the pandemic or just time and life is in the way, like do the early voting, just knock it out and don't just put it out of your mind. Just do it and then be free of it. You're good to go.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's my biggest recommendation. So you're hearing it here. Make sure you early vote. Make sure if you're doing a mail-in ballot that you drop it off early, whether that is at your supervisor of elections office, at an early voting location, or if you're sending it in the mail. Do it early. Don't wait. Don't let your vote not be counted. So in other news, we have our first presidential debates happening. So
I cannot wait for that. I am so excited. With popcorn and ice cream and all the chocolates in the world.
Maybe
I am
some
so
wine.
Yeah. Copious amounts of wine, but I am so pumped to see that.
So that will happen on Tuesday, September 29th. So our podcast will be coming out on Monday. That means Tuesday you will get to see the first presidential debate. There will be a total of 3 debates. So this will be the first one. There will also be a vice presidential debate happening.
Which I'm super pumped for that one too. That's going to be really interesting.
I am
Kamala debating. I cannot wait for that.
Yes, I'm very excited for that. But I think it's really important that we all tune in, we listen, and it should be interesting.
Yeah. Again, just as people watching from the outside, it's not even about the politics. I'm just really excited to see what goes down. Like what is even just said.
I'm sure that there will be some jabs thrown. Again, we have Trump, who is a bit of a wild card. There is no telling what he will say. I imagine things could get a little dirty.
Yeah.
But keep in mind as you're watching, we put out a post on the Ballot Defenders page about fact checking.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure that you're doing your due diligence in information that is talked about, that we don't always just take it for what is said. Make sure that you're actually checking information and making sure it's legitimate before you're putting your foot down on topics that are talked about.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah, we don't need to say anything else about why, but we just make sure that you are fact checking and you're going to those non-partisan resources to make sure you're getting the right information.
And that's so important. That just goes back to just the theme of Ballot Defenders in general and just like what we're really putting out there in our whole mission of Ballot Defenders. And that is arm yourself with the facts. Like, I don't care if you're Republican. I don't care if you're Democrat, somewhere in the middle, whatever. As long as what you believe in is something that you've researched, that is true, that aligns with your beliefs. And if you actually do commit to your civic duties of voting, because it is so important. So at the end of the day, just know what you're talking about. The worst thing is getting into fights on like social media with people and you're just like, this is even true. Like you're arguing with me so passionately, love the passion, but like fact check yourself, show me the receipts, because what you're saying right now is ridiculous.
There's a lot of false information out there on both sides. So make sure you're informed. That's really important regardless of what party you're a part of.
Exactly.
So actual topic for today to talk about is we have some fun stories about the history of voting. So I'm going to talk about drunk voting.
Which, if you didn't know, is the entire foundation of our entire democracy in the United States.
Yeah. So funny enough, it is what our elections were founded on. It goes all the way back to the 18th century in Great Britain, where candidates would bribe voters with money and booze. So good times there.
My kind of people.
My kind of people. Maybe not. Bribing voters, bad.
Well, the alcohol part.
But as America, as we were becoming America, we took a lot of things from Great Britain, and that was one of them. But one of the most famous founding fathers for bribing voters was George Washington, funny enough. And so George Washington, when he was coming up in politics at the age of 24, he was running for the House of Burgess. He only got 40 votes and he lost.
That's crazy.
Keep in mind that during that time, there was a very small elector of people that were actually voting in the election.
Yeah, we had like 10 people living in the United States at the time. So.
Yes, but his opponent, he offered voters rum punch, whiskey, and wine. So George Washington, learning his lesson when he ran again in 1758, he used his entire campaign budget of £50.
Entire budget.
And it's even said that afterwards that he said that he wished he would have spent more money,
so
but
funny.
he bought 160 gallons of rum punch, hard cider, and beer, and he won in a landslide.
That's so funny. Can you imagine if people did that nowadays? Be like, we don't need leaflets or whatever. We don't need to leave anything at your door.
Right,
just
like I don't even remember who I voted for, but you bought me a half gallon of rum.
Thanks.
So
here's my vote.
Right, here's my vote. But it's funny. So this actually led to a lot of states banning alcohol on election day. And fun fact also is that saloons used to second as polling places. So that's now
great way to capture voters.
Right. Well, now we have a community centers. We use libraries, churches, community centers. But back then, when our country was becoming, what we are today, they actually use saloons as voting places.
That's so funny. Honestly, I think they should go back to that because we'd really capture the young vote in that department.
Right. You cast your ballot. You can just stay at the bar.
Yes, I'm about it.
Whatever happens, it might make election day a little bit easier.
Yeah,
but
right?
So this actually led to a lot of states having polling day prohibition. This went all the way until like 2014. So this wasn't something that was like a thing of the past. So
oh my God, that's so funny though.
Yeah, we had these old laws and there was like half a dozen states that finally overturned these laws from 2008 to 2013, but that was Kentucky, Delaware, Idaho, Indiana, Utah, and West Virginia.
That's so funny.
So, what do you think? Could you imagine? For one, you have your candidates that are bribing you with alcohol and booze, but two, imagine going into a bar to cast your ballot.
I don't know. I think politics back then obviously were completely different. The whole election process was brand new. People, you take out an ad in the paper a couple times during your campaign, and that was like your big push. This was a new time for everyone, so they didn't even know what they were voting for. I think it's so funny. Yeah, it was just, that makes sense though. Everyone was pretty drunk back then. I think they kind of still are, aren't they?
I think I read somewhere that even the Constitution, I think they all might have been drunk when they were writing it. So, there you go.
That makes sense in a lot of points. That is so funny. Well, I don't have a drunk history version of this, but I do. What I did think was interesting researching the history of voting was how for the longest time, the person who lost the presidential election automatically became vice president. And I actually really like that idea. I understand why it was taken away. I think, was it Jefferson who got rid of that law? And I understand why.
So it didn't last very long.
It didn't last very long, but it was for the first few elections. And I think that's really a wonderful founding father idea, where the founding fathers got it right.
It'll force you to work together.
Yeah. So you're always working together regardless of the politics or the histories or anything like that. And I think that we would get a lot more done.
Right. You can't have any one party that becomes too
everyone's on the same page. You all have equal power. Like, can you imagine if Biden lost to Trump and Biden had to be automatically the VP for Trump? Or vice versa.
Mind blown. Right. Yeah. I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah. But then you think about it and it kind of makes sense they got rid of it, because if you're running as an incumbent and you lost, so you're going from president for 2 terms to then vice president for maybe 2 terms. You don't know. And so I can see how that can start flip-flopping strangely. So I get logically why it had to be taken away, and also the politics behind taking that law away, obviously. But I just think that that's just so wonderful that I know the founding fathers got a lot wrong in certain ways, but I think that that's just something that that was really important. And I wish that we could bring back, because it just forces everyone to work together regardless
we
of what
all
you
have
believe.
to get along and work together.
So we wouldn't have the same type of energy that we would have in Congress. We wouldn't have the same type of energy we're having right now around the Supreme Court, because everyone's in on it and everyone wants some type of equality in the legal way. So I think that it was just a really cool little fun fact about history. I don't think a lot of people know that.
I know that was something that they talked about in Hamilton, but love Hamilton. But I did not know that until I saw the play. I had no idea that was something that was started when we first started doing elections. So
crazy,
definitely crazy
times.
But it would, just think about it. Think about how different things could be.
Oh my God, that's nuts.
Moving on, I'm going to quiz you on your presidential knowledge.
Oh, no.
I do not expect that you will know any of these answers.
Any of them. So you're setting me up for failures.
But I'm setting you up for failure. There may be some trick questions, but I think this will be fun. And there is so many interesting presidential facts that even myself, as I was going through some of these, I was like, this is really very, very interesting.
I hope my knowledge so I was a hardcore debate team member in high school, and I went real hard with government and all of that. So I'm hoping that maybe something is sticking.
Pull some of that back out of the
hopefully. Because if I'm going to be on Ballot Defenders and we're going to be doing this podcast, I got to save face. I can't be like, oh, this girl knows nothing.
I think there's at least one that you'll get right. There's some multiple choice. So we'll see how you do here. I'm going to get started. The first question, and I love this one because I do not love public speaking. I know we're doing this podcast, but I can totally relate to this former president. So the question, which U.S. president hated public speaking so much that they only gave 2 speeches, one for each term that they served? Here's your options. You have Thomas.
I think I actually know this one.
James Madison or James Garfield?
Thomas Jefferson, James Madison,
or Garfield. James Garfield.
It's definitely not Garfield. I think I actually know this one because I think it's a trick, because Thomas Jefferson was known for having a great personality, and I'm pretty sure I actually know this one. I think it's Thomas Jefferson.
Ding, ding, ding. You're right. It was Thomas Jefferson.
Off to a good
Jefferson also started the practice where he would send his State of the Union addresses, not addresses, as documents.
Yes.
So they would be read by Congress and he didn't have to read them. So I thought that was so
that
interesting.
Is really funny.
And as someone who also doesn't like public speaking, I totally get it. So, you never know. If you don't like to speak in public, you could still be president one day.
It's just so interesting that these characters become president, or fight for positions of power. It's just funny. But I get scared in large crowds, but I still like doing all the things that we do. Yeah. Right? So it's so interesting.
Funny. Yeah. So question 2, okay. Who was the shortest president ever? Your options: Martin Van Buren, James Madison, or Woodrow Wilson.
Oh, God, I don't know. Weren't they all short back then? Wasn't that the thing?
Right.
Wait, one more time. What are the options?
So your options are Martin Van Buren, James Madison, or Woodrow Wilson.
I don't know anything about Van Buren. Woodrow Wilson. I don't think it's Woodrow Wilson. I'm going to go with Van Buren because I don't know anything about him. And he's just I feel like he's just sort of off to the sidelines anyway. So if he's going to be a short guy, I could see how his personality would match that.
But you are wrong. The answer is actually James Madison. He was only 5'4". Was
he really? Oh my God.
100 pounds. So
I'm taller and fatter than James Madison.
Right. So he was a very, very short president.
What a tiny guy.
goes into the next question for you. Who was the tallest president?
Oh,
Abraham Lincoln, Barack Obama, or Donald Trump?
Oh, never mind. You're giving me modern people. Hold on. Well, I mean, Abe Lincoln was known for being super tall, but I feel like Obama's probably tall too. I don't feel like Trump is above 6 feet. I'm going to go with Lincoln because I feel like that's like a thing.
You are correct.
Oh, thank God.
Question, because we always think of Abraham Lincoln as tall because he wore the big top hat, but he was actually
super
president.
tall. Yeah.
He was 6'4", but what I thought was interesting was the second tallest president is actually Donald Trump. He's 6'3".
Is he really?
I would have never imagined that.
So why does he look so small? Couldn't help myself.
I think we should move on from there. We'll leave it at that.
Okay, sorry.
So next question. This I thought was so interesting. There was 2 past presidents that died on the same day.
Oh, wait, I know this one.
Not just like the same day, years apart, like actually on the
same day, yeah.
Hours apart. So you don't have to tell me who it was, but it was on a historic day.
It was July 4th. It was July 4th, and I probably, hold on, who are they? They hated each other for the longest time, but then they were like frenemies, and they wrote to each other all the time, even till the end, and they didn't even know that they died on the same day. Who the fuck was it? What was it? No, Hamilton was never president. Hold on. It was Jefferson, right?
Yes.
Because he had a lot of enemies. It was Jefferson, and was it Madison? No,
wasn't Madison.
Wasn't Madison. It was Jefferson and Adams.
Adams. Oh my God! I am so impressed with you. I'm actually shocked that you got that. So
yes. I know the story.
Thomas Jefferson and John Adams. They both died on July 4th, 1826.
It's so
within hours
perfect.
of each other.
Yes.
And it was the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence.
Yes, that's why I remember it. Yeah, it was so. First of all, if I was in that way, I would love to die like that. Like I'd love to be so historic up until the end, Like, peace out, bitches. I'm dying on the 50th anniversary on Independence Day.
Right, and you have 2 past presidents. Like, what are the chances within
so crazy. Oh, that was a good one. Making me use my noggin.
I'm shocked that you knew that. I'm very impressed by your presidential knowledge. I don't know that I would.
So the credit to give on that story 100% goes to Comedy Central's Drunk History. I knew it ahead of time. I did know the story, but then I remember watching it and I was like, that's just so funny. So funny.
Well, I'm very impressed. So next question. What does the S in Harry S. Truman stand for?
It's like Shirley or something. I know this one because it was weird and funny.
It is.
It's Charlie? Did I get it right? Oh, no.
It's actually, so I'm just going to tell you because you're not going to know this, and it's a trick question. The S actually stands for nothing.
It's just for fun, S?
It stands for nothing. So it was a compromise between his parents. He had 2 grandfathers. Anderson Ship Truman and Solomon Young. So because they couldn't decide
just put S.
Which one of his grandparents that he would be named after. So they just added the S for both, and it actually stood for nothing.
I love that. Segue, alternative. Do you know why United States is known for having middle names? Because most European countries don't do this. If you have a European friend, they're like, I don't have a middle name. That's stupid. So when everyone immigrated here to the colonies, everyone had the same name. Everyone was John Smith. Everyone had Jane, everyone had the same name. And so they started giving middle names. So you could be like, oh, it's John James or John Joseph. So they were they used the middle names as an identifier because there were so many people with the same name. Yeah. Funny, right? And now we have middle names. And now you get people nowadays with 27 middle names because they just can't make up their minds.
Right. Yeah. Too funny. So I have 2 more questions for you.
Okay.
Who was the only president to win a Grammy?
To win a Grammy? Obama, right? Because Wasn't he in on something?
With Obama.
Yeah.
He won a Grammy in 2006 for his voice on the audiobook Dreams from My Father. Last question, and I'm going to bring it back to my my personal life. I have 3 children, so I thought this was interesting. What is the most children that a president has ever had?
Oh, God. 19 kids and counting.
You're not too far off by
20?
No, a little bit less.
Okay. 16.
It was 15.
Oh, too many children.
And
You're way outnumbered.
That was John Tyler. He had 8 sons and 7 daughters.
That's just excessive.
Imagine that White House. I have 3 children. That is plenty. I could not even imagine.
Well, it's a good thing he was in the White House because he needs a damn White House to have all those bedrooms. Like,
right?
Oh my God, the presidency was up, and he's like, "Damn, what am I doing with all these kids?"
Who has a big enough house to have 15 kids?
Oh,
in it,
that's nuts. Well, birth control isn't quite a thing back then, so that's a lot of children.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting. So bring it back to my parental roots there.
How would you feel if you had 15 kids?
I don't even want to think about that.
Your poor body, though. I feel so bad for women.
Well, I believe he actually had more than one wife.
A few paramours, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, but
That's
still,
so
fun fact nonetheless.
Yeah. Oh, how funny. Well,
and that was it. You passed the test. You did very well. I thought I was gonna totally stump you there. And
thank you.
You're definitely the winner of presidential trivia.
I appreciate it, although it's not saying too much because I did only get 2 answers right. So I appreciate you giving me one, but that was fun. Thank you. It was nice to use my noggin so early in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with your useless information of presidential knowledge.
So thank you, Drunk History. I credit them.
Yes, thank you, Drunk History. Well, that's it. That's we have a couple important announcements. You have less than a week.
Yeah, the 5th, October 5th.
To vote. So make sure you get out there. If you have not registered to vote, you can go to registertovoteflorida.gov online. It is very easy. It will take you less than 5 minutes, so you have no excuse.
Very easy.
Go online, register to vote, and make sure you're reaching out to your friends and family too, and making sure that everybody you know is registered to vote.
Perfect. And you can catch us on social media. We're on Facebook at Ballot Defenders, on Instagram at Ballot Defenders. Our podcast and videocast is put on YouTube. So keep tuning in. Every Monday, there'll be a new episode. If you have any requests, please comment down below when you see the video so we can keep tabs on it and maybe bring it up for you in the future. Yeah. And I'm really loving the current events vibe we have going on. I think that's really important, like to review current events every week. So we're going to make sure that this segment sticks.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. We have a lot of developments, even the things we talked about today. A lot of things will play out in the next couple weeks. So we will keep every Monday keeping you up to date with what's going on.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.
Peace out.